Welcome to the Collector's Archive. Interface access loading. File date from ToySlice.
Now then, Dave, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, thanks, Ed. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Thank you for agreeing to come on the Collector's Archive. It's I know we've chatted before in the past, but not in this stand. I know I've been on Toy Me Toy You with you and Lee a while back, so it's nice to have you on the refired up Collector's Archive. So yeah, thanks for agreeing to do that. Do you want to? Sorry. What were we going to say, sir?
No, you're welcome. This is your revenge on me, obviously.
No. I don't deal in revenge. It's it was a case of I did have a bit of an extended sabbatical from it all, for one reason or another, and I also intended to come back to it. And when I coming back to it, I thought there were certain people I wanted to bring back that I didn't get. Like the first time round, if you wish, if you will. So, so that's great. So, if you want to take a minute, Dave, just to introduce yourself and let people know where they can find you on the socials that are out there.
Okie dokie, thank you. So, my name's Dave, and I am known as ToySlice over on Instagram and Blue Sky, where I share occasional photos of the toys that I'm collecting. I'm also ToySlice on YouTube. And I do videos from time to time there when I find the energy. And the other thing I do with my good friend Lee is every other week on a Sunday evening, as Ed's just alluded to, we do a live stream called Toy Me Toy You, where we spend a couple of hours, just chatting about all things toy related, and we get guests on. Ed's been a guest. We've had a number of other people on, and it's just mates hanging out and sharing our thoughts about toys and enjoying this hobby together.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So I mean, if you've not already seen that, head over and check it out. They'd have some really good discussions, and they have quite a good selection of people coming on and chatting about toys and that. So yeah, no, it's good stuff. I will ask. I'm going to put you on the spot now, and I'm going to ask. So the name change, because obviously I still call you Nipples. It's a term of endearment. Like the Dave Nipples thing. So what was the thing for changing from Dave Nipples to ToySlice?
Well, I'd got the name Dave Nipples from the toy Retgar, the Studio Series 86 Retgar, Transformers collector. That's a favourite figure, and it became a bit of a joke in the community. I called myself Dave Wave has posable nipples like Retgar, and then it got shortened down to Dave Nipples. And then about a year ago, really, I started diversifying my collecting outside of Transformers, and I got to a certain point, and I thought, you know what, I think maybe it's time to just change things up, do something a bit different. And I think a part of it as well is that sometimes the name caused a bit of confusion if you don't understand kind of the origins of the name. Being related to a toy. It's just like, who's this pervert calling himself Dave Nipples on the internet? So I just felt like it's time to do something a bit different. So, Right, no, it's from now on it'll be ToySlice, but you'll always be Dave Nipples to me. Oh, that's fine.
Or is it Toy Nipples, or is it Nipple Slice? Or we've been through this before. We won't go there again. So no, that's great. So right, okay, we'll start with the questions then, and obviously, best place to start is what's your main collecting focus?
Well, as I've said, and as is evident behind me, it's Transformers. Been collecting Transformers. Probably since about 2018, Titans Return type of time with the mainline Transformers. And built up over several years a reasonably sized collection of Transformers. So and having a lot of fun with those.
Yeah. So why do you collect then? What's the particular motivation behind it, and do you have any goals with it?
So it started around the time I'd had a mental breakdown, and so I'd sort of withdrawn from like socializing and stuff quite a lot,
Yeah.
and into myself. And so when I'd started getting figures, it was around that same time, and it became a sort of a form of therapy.
Right.
You actually pick up a transformer and flick it backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it came from, and then it's sort of continued, and thankfully my mental health has improved.
Yeah.
And I've been able to kind of get out there and start socializing more, and made some new friends through this community as well. I got to go to conventions and meet people and go visit vintage toy shops and have gatherings and all that sort of thing. So it's actually been a big help, really, in many ways, with my mental health, and I think that's a big part of why I really got into it. But yeah, it's a nice thing to have. It's a nice hobby. It's fun. It's something that can take you away from the stresses and strains of life and just help you to decompress and relax.
Right. No, I mean, if it helps, and it's productive for you, then no, that's it's fantastic. That's a good thing. It's good to hear that you're making progress on that side. So I mean, just going back to then that with your collecting, then do you have any particular goals to it, or is it kind of like a meandering? Is it random, or do you just pick up what you want, or do you have an end game to it?
It's mostly at this point is just pick up whatever takes my fancy. The only specific goal I've ever really set myself is early on I decided from the Transformers I wanted every character that had a toy in the original 1984 toy line. I wanted some sort of version of those I've got that now in modern toy form. Buzzsaw was the holdout for a long while. And then he came with the recent Legacy Leader Class Soundwave. So that's kind of completed that. And I think there's a new Wind Charger come in, so I'll get that as an upgrade, and a better Ravage would be nice, but in terms of the practicalities of having all those characters represented, I'm there.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I know you mentioned, you said it was about 2008 that you got back into it, but when did the point come where like you thought, oh, I'm collecting now? When did that become a thing? And I know we understand the circumstances that brought you to it, but that aside, was there a particular figure as well that brought you back into it?
Right. So I would say it was about 2018 for myself, but it kind of goes back a little bit further than that even. So in 2015, they brought out the Transformers Robots in Disguise cartoon and a complete toy line. And at that point, my daughter, who's a teenager now, was younger, obviously, and I'd started getting her some of those toys, and we'd been watching the show together and having a lot of fun. And a quality toy line and a really fun kid show. We enjoyed together, and so that was part of it. And I think that's what led me to kind of bring back my interest in Transformers specifically. And it's why when I decided to get something for myself, it was a Transformer. So it was the the Titans Return Triple Changer Optimus Prime. I'd seen that on sale in the Entertainer.
Right.
So I think it's the Octane mold. It's an
Prime. I'll be honest with you. This is where I kind of phase out when it comes to mainline stuff. I'm just like, I just glaze over, and I'm like, it's like the Homer Simpson thing, where inside my brain it's the monkey with the symbols just doing that, because I'm just completely and utterly out of touch with mainline. So I'll nod and say yes, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with the figure that you're talking about. If it is a remold of I know who Octane is, obviously I know who Optimus Prime is, so I can kind of get a bit of a mental picture about it. What I might do is when I'm editing this, I might put a picture on the screen as well, just as a visual reminder to myself as well, so I can look there and ponder and go, look like I know what I'm talking about.
Well, you can look that up later, Ed.
Yeah, I can look.
Yeah,
that
but
later.
that's not the important detail, really. But that's the figure. I'd seen that on sale in the Entertainer, and I
Yeah.
got it for my birthday.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the first one after
Right.
getting some stuff for my daughter. That was the one that was the first one that was for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I quite enjoyed messing around with that, so that was good. And then I remembered having a G1 Run Amok toy as a kid that I used to enjoy messing around with.
Yeah.
I think was probably a hand-me-down from a cousin or something.
Yeah.
So I found one of those on eBay and bought it just for the nostalgia, really.
Mhm.
And kind of a rubbish thing, really. As an adult, it doesn't do much. It's not a super articulated action figure or anything like that. It's definitely a toy, but just for the nostalgia, it's great. And as a kid, I loved it. Just pulling it back, it goes forward and pops up. Just really fun. And then I thought, oh, I'm probably going to get more of these.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was it that point then where you thought
that was the point where I thought, well, it might be quite nice to get some sort of version of all the original Transformers, as it were, and that was where my goal came in, really.
Yeah. Right. So that was quite early on then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what were you at that point? 2 figures in, were you? And you
Two
were
figures in, and I thought, oh, it might be nice to get.
Yeah.
So that was where I sort of aimed myself, and I was just getting whatever version of those characters I could find at that stage.
Right. So at that point,
I just had a random shelf.
Yeah. So at no point was vintage a thing for you at that point then, or was it ever a consideration, or were you just mainly thinking about what was out currently, or what was going to come?
I think it was what I could find, really.
Right.
What was going to be easy and what was going to be affordable, and so it just sort of became kind of that stuff in the middle, really. That generation stuff, was where the affordable figures were. Right. Okay.
So, I mean, looking at your shelf, I mean, there are some nice pieces there, but the usual thing, we do buy more and we pick up other stuff. So, is there what's new in your collection at the moment? Then, if anything newly arrived, is there something that's on your radar? That you're waiting for, or you're looking to pick up, pre-orders, and then. Also, is there anything that isn't available at the moment that you'd like to see made available? Like to pick up.
All right, so that's a few questions. In terms of recent pickups, I have got a couple of bits here to show you. So, first, I built this last night whilst watching the Cosmic Council.
All right,
it's a Blockies Pokemon.
All right, yeah.
This is
cool.
Sterile Edge.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the Transformers community, there's a lot of people are big fans of those Transformers blockies. I haven't got into those in a big way.
No.
I bought a couple, but I think the blockies. The thing about them is they're inexpensive and they are very good at the price point. Mm-hmm. But for me, they won't replace these figures I've got behind me.
No.
I bought a couple to try them out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really for me, but my son likes them, so I ended up getting a couple more, and I just play with him from time to time. In terms of Pokemon, I would say that this is better than the mainline Pokemon toys that you can find in toy shops.
Right.
In terms of quality.
Yeah,
and it's got a bit of articulation. The only thing with Sterile Edge is because of the stiletto feet design, it doesn't stand up freely, so they've had to include a stand.
Right.
Depending on the Pokemon, many of them will stand up off their own.
Yeah. I like the colours. Colours are nice.
It's a nice design. I got that off of AliExpress for £5.63 posted.
Right.
For that kind of money, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the same opinion with the blockies. They're not for me. However, that said, I did pick up the Action Edition Prime and Megatron, and I really did like those. Those are the ones that are a bit of a bigger scale, more articulated. and I was happy, to leave it at that. And then obviously I've seen them this morning. They've done the colour images of the Soundwave that they're doing in the Action Edition, and it's just like, oh, you. So I'm going to be getting that. I'm going to be getting that. And it's like, I want them to do it, but I also don't want them to do it, because it's like I don't want to get into that whole thing. But if they do a Grimlock in that Action Edition, in his robot mode, not in his Dino mode, then that will be a must-have. But yeah, so yeah, I'm the same. They're not for me, but I'm happy for people that are getting enjoyment out of them, and I'm happy that they're being successful for the brand as a whole, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just a shame with those that they haven't had wider distribution here in the UK. Because I think if when the Transformers 1 movie came out, they'd had blockies all over the shelves in Smiths,
yeah,
they would have sold in droves, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Or you would have hoped so.
Yeah.
But, not going too deep into it, but there's that whole thing of like, well, are kids playing with toys these days? But, it's, we'll never know, because they just, they fumbled the merchandising, they fumbled the marketing for it. So,
yeah,
we won't know. But
anyway. I think, I went to see the movie with my kids, and if those had been on the shelf, at the price they are, like £8 each, I definitely have got some for them.
Right.
And like you say, my little boy does enjoy them.
Yeah.
I've got a few for him anyway. But yeah, I think if the Transformers ones had been there along with the movie, I think they could have done well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you say, it's a shame that there wasn't really that much to support the movie. But it is what it is.
It is.
Okay, another thing that I got just the other day is this little Joy Toy April O'Neil.
All right.
Yeah, and she's really nicely done little figure. It's 1/18 scale, so small. And the reason I wanted a 1/18 scale figure is because I recently got this 1/18 car.
All right.
The Lamborghini, the Barago one. And I thought it'd be nice to have a figure that's in scale with the car.
Right. Will she actually fit in the car?
I haven't tried that yet.
No.
I think
right.
She should do, but of course it's like manipulating the figure into the right position, isn't it? Yourself, getting in and out of a car isn't always easy. I'm the right size to get in a car, but but they aren't, or they can be awkward, and particularly the low profile of a Lamborghini.
Yeah. So it's
nice little figure. They're quite pricey. These, I think she was £40 or something like that. She does come with a number of accessories in the box and stuff. And there's a lot of detail in there for such a small figure, and well articulated and all that sorts of stuff, and a number of accessories. But it still does feel pricey. But I just wanted to have one because people have raved about these Joy Toy figures. And I thought, I'm going to get one because it'll scale with that car, and I can display it next to that car, and it means I get to have that experience of having a Joy Toy figure.
Right.
So I would probably say it's a little bit overpriced, but I not to the point where I regret getting it or anything.
Yeah.
So that's things I've been picking up. What was the next part of the question?
So and then it's. Yeah. So have you got anything? Is there anything on your radar at the moment, like a pre-order or something like that you're waiting for?
There is. The Super 7 have done a range of 2003 Ninja Turtles based on the 2003 series in 7-inch scale, and I've pre-ordered the Donatello. That is starting to get into people's hands now. I've seen some videos that people have done that in the US, so I think it's getting there. So hopefully mine will be with me quite soon now as well. And I'm a Ninja Turtles fan, and that's one thing I've got into, having diversified beyond Transformers now, is I've decided I'm going to collect different versions of Donatello, who is my favourite and the best turtle.
It's an odd thing, is that, because Donatello seems to be everyone's favourite, and I can't figure out why. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Turtles arrived a little bit late for me, if I'm honest, but it was like, if I was to pick one, I think I'd probably go Donatello as well. Maybe it's the purple. Who knows? I don't know. But it's just like, I mean, I didn't watch much of the cartoon. The most exposure I had to Ninja Turtles was the game on the NES, which I would play with a friend of mine. Go around to his house, and well, actually, it wasn't my friend's NES or game. It was his younger brother's NES and game. But we'd just go around and end up hogging it, kind of thing, like, and playing this Turtles game. And it was absolutely rock hard. It was a really difficult game to play. And I've been back to it since and tried playing it again, and it's still hard.
It's notorious for being hard. Yeah.
So that's my memory of Turtles, really. Just play it through playing that game. But yeah, it's an odd one that Donatello seems to be, the more popular of the one. I'd have thought it'd maybe be Michelangelo, with the two, katanas kind of thing. But it's all good. It's all good. So is that it then? Or have you some more that's coming in?
No, in terms of pre-orders, that's the one really.
Yeah. Right.
To at the moment.
So then the last part of it is there something that you'd like to see made available or made that then you could get, that isn't already, that hasn't already been done?
Yeah. So I think one thing I'd really like to see is updated Brave Star toys, because Brave Star was a series I watched as a kid and really enjoyed. There has been recently Ramen Toys has made the Marshall, which is like a third-party Brave Star figure, premium figure, which looks really, really good.
Yes,
but I'd love to see like a full kind of more mainstream, lower price kind of, in that kind of Masterverse or Marvel Legends type of bracket. A range of different characters from Brave Star.
Right.
That's probably the main thing that of the franchises that I grew up with, that's the one that really hasn't had any sort of update.
Right. Were they a Mattel toy, were they, Brave Star?
Oh, I can't remember. Don't know.
No, I can't think who made the Brave Star toys. Maybe that's something else for me to look up. But no, I can't remember who did the Brave Star toys. But yeah, I saw the Ramen toys, rendition of him, like, So I think that'd be a cool piece to have. If you had him, the Marshall, and then what they call the horse? Is it 1040 or something or something like that?
30.
20. Sorry, what?
30-30.
30-30. Yeah. Why is it called 30-30?
Who knows?
Oh, right. So there's no reason behind it. It's just right. Okay. I mean, I could understand 50-50 because he's 50% horse and 50% sort of like stand up horsey looking kind of thing. But right. Okay. It's all right. So just the Brave Star stuff then. Nothing else.
Nothing else that springs to mind, really.
No. Oh, no, it's good stuff. Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, maybe if whoever holds the rights for Brave Star, if they see that this thing's popular with Ramen toys, other than trying to sue them, maybe they'll think, there might be a market for it, and start producing it. So right then, so going back to your collection that you've got now, then, is there a particular piece that you're vibing on at the moment? That is a particular piece that's on your desk that you just keep picking up and having a mess about with, and that?
Well, I've already shown this, but the Lamborghini, I'm loving that.
Yeah.
I had a number of the Virago toys as a kid, and well, you all know this, Ed, but for a long time I couldn't really remember what the brand was, and it was when I was watching the Cosmic Council, it came up and I mentioned it in the chat, and you said, oh, it could be Virago.
Yeah.
And then I Googled it, as you do. And as soon as I saw the logo, I was like, yes, that's it. So this is a modern Virago 118.
Right.
And I decided to get one. I won't be getting a lot in this scale because it takes up a fair bit of space. But it sits on my bedside cabinet.
Right.
And it's just lovely. Really
I mean,
nice car.
I'm
Really.
surprised. I didn't know. I mean, because I'm out of touch with that side of like toys and this, but I didn't know Burago was still going. I was quite surprised it was still, it was still a company that was producing.
Well, they've been bought out, I think. Is it Maisto?
All right, yeah,
It's a Chinese company.
yeah,
But they're still doing the two brands separately.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, they were quite popular. When I was a kid, they were quite popular, and I had a few. Like the usual, Testarossa and the F40, and then like I had a couple of older 1950s Ferraris. But because they come in the black boxes, with the red and white, Burago label and that. The 1/18 scales, but then they also did. I'm just trying to think. Were the 132? Is it 132? The next one's down from the 1/18.
They do a 124 as well.
Is it 124? Because obviously I'd get the big ones, but then when I got them, the first thing I'd take them apart. Which usually used to frustrate my parents. They'd be like, we've just bought you that and you're taking it apart. And then they twigged on them because it was a place in Cornwall I used to get them, in Falmouth, called Trago Mills. They also did the 1/18s, but in kit form, so you could build them yourself. So then, when I got one, they'd get me the kit version, so I could build it. So that'd scratch that kind of itch and that. So right, so it's just that particular one then that you keep missing about.
There's some other things that I got recently as well. These are a bit of a silly one, but Warriors of Virtue.
Yeah, I've kept seeing you mention those.
Is
that a new toy line?
No, this is an obscure movie from 1997, I think.
All right, okay.
Warriors of Virtue. Which apparently is not a very good movie, but I still want to watch it now after getting these figures just to see for myself. But I haven't got around to it yet. But I picked this up when I went to Nerd Base for £6 just because it was a weird-looking anthropomorphic figure, and I like anthropomorphic designs. And and then I got it out, and I thought, actually, it's quite well done. It's quite solid. It's not superposable or anything, but the detail's quite nice on him. Yeah. And I thought for £6, that's a decent figure. And then I noticed on the back of the box there was another character called Willy Beast. I just thought that's a ridiculous name. I'm going to have to get one of those.
Yeah.
And I'd mentioned this to my friend Gav, who'd been on the trip with me, and he found one on eBay and ordered it and had it sent to me and sent it to me as a gift, which was awesome. So now I've got him too. And I mean, they're not objectively great action figures or anything.
No.
But they're inexpensive and they are solidly made. And like I say, that they've got a bit of paint on them, a bit of detail on them. Yeah. Nice sculpted details on them.
Right.
So for not a lot of money, they're just a bit of fun. And
so are they toys that are back from the 90s then, or is it something that's being produced now?
No, these were released alongside the movie.
Right, and did they just do those two, or is there other figures?
There is a range.
Other figures available.
There is a range. The main characters in the movie apparently were these 5 heroic kangaroos.
All right, okay.
Kangaroos. And so there's figures of those 5, and then there's a range of human figures. The human figures look genuinely awful. They look like their faces melted off.
Yeah.
The animal ones look okay. I think these are probably the 2 strongest ones of the bunch. But the kangaroo ones look okay, so I might get some of those as well.
Right.
But that's just something silly and a bit of fun, really.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it at the moment.
Right. No, good stuff. So I changed this question because the question originally was like, your house is burning down, things like that, and I figured I had to think about it. I thought, no, I'm going to rephrase that one because obviously that's kind of it's a bit unfair because it's a heat of the moment thing, if you pardon the pun, and you'd be like, oh, kind of thing. So I've changed it to, what would be your desert island item or piece? So you're stranded on a desert island. What toy or collectible are you having with you to while away the sunny days?
So I've had to think about this, And I'm sort of thinking, knowing that the question used to be about the fire situation,
Yeah.
my first response, if there was a fire, would be we need
Yeah.
a fire engine.
Yeah.
So I'd take Benadryl Inferno. That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
Also because it's a very cool toy, and because I picked it up whilst I was in Blackpool for my brother's wedding, so there's memories attached to it and stuff. So that's very cool. The other way I thought about it, though, in terms of like Desert Island and everything like that, is if I was like, my whole collection was gone, and I had to pick one figure to start over again.
Yeah.
A brand new collection, right? I think it would want to be a figure that I found really enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that was of good quality. And I chose this, which is the Legacy G1 Universe Optimus Prime, which is a small modern update, a deluxe class, inspired by the G1 Optimus Prime design.
Yeah.
And I think if I was going to have one piece as a starting point for a collection, it would be that, because it's that quintessential. G1 Optimus Prime is, in many ways, in many people's minds, is the toy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a design icon. It's up there with a Spitfire or a Mini or the red telephone box. And maybe even a Spectrum. It's like it is a design icon. So I get what you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, and the reason I like this is because it has all that nostalgia. It takes a lot of what's good about that original toy. But then it tweaks it in some ways as well. For example, the hands are now included in the transformation rather than being separate pieces. It improves the proportions a little bit. Like the G1 Optimus Prime had long forearms and skinny thighs. There's little tweaks there that I like to it. The G1 toy's more premium in some ways, but this is just a lot of fun. And a lot of fun to flick backwards and forwards. And like I say, things like having the hands included, like just an all-in-one transformer, I really appreciate that. So just a fun. I think if I was taking a starting point for a new collection, having got rid of everything else, that would be the one that I'd keep to start over. So that would be my choice.
Yeah, I've picked that one up myself, and I ended up getting the Toy Hacks labels for it. And it's over there somewhere. I won't bother digging it out at the moment, but it's it's kind of just taking it up a little notch by putting those labels on it, because they've included labels to put on like the grill area and the legs and that to make them look like they're chromed and things, so it just kind of like, so I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I would recommend doing that, because it does make it just that little bit more. So right, okay, so we've got that as your desert one. So would you say it probably isn't, but would you say, is that your favourite figure, or is your favourite figure something separate to that?
That's a really hard question. My favourite figure changes. Probably from day to day.
Right.
I think one figure that's probably been up there amongst my favourites since I got it is the Siege Sideswipe.
Right.
Because I'm a big fan of Lamborghinis in general. Sideswipe was my favourite character in the G1 cartoon. Because he's a cool red Lamborghini, and that's just a really good quality toy. And at this stage, we've had so many uses of that mold, you can feel like it's been done to death. But it's because it's a very, very good mold.
I was going to say the Siege one, is that the one that they redecoed into like a G2? Was it like green and black, like green with the black insert on the bonnet? Is it that mold? Is it?
It's, hold on, let me get him. Was it? They did an Armada version. They've done so many different versions.
Right. It might be. Did the
Armada version?
Did they re-release that that mold as well as kind of like, is it like a dead drone kind of thing, or am I just remembering things wrong?
They've done him as Red Alert, Clampdown, 2 versions of Deep Cover.
Right.
The blue Deep Cover from the Netflix trilogy range that was sold exclusively in Smith might be the one that you're thinking of.
Right, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, because that came out at the same time as they did a Sparkless Seeker, and I think they did an Ironhide one that was used the Ironhide mold to do a generic drone.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's not my.
They did a Rusty Prowl.
Yeah,
used the Prowl mode to do one that was looked like it was covered in rust.
Right. Yeah, it's not my strong suit is mainline. I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm just, so all right, good stuff. So I know you've mentioned bits and bobs, but I don't know if you want to, elaborate any more on it. But like other interests out of, well, actually, no, it's a bit redundant, really, because like I say, no, I'll ask it anyway. Like, is there any interests out of your main focus? Other toy lines, or something like peripheral that you take an interest in, but it's not as you don't go as deep on it as what you do your others.
Yeah, so obviously Transformers is the largest part of my collection, but actually recently I haven't been buying that many Transformers, and I've sort of diversified. I've kind of amassed several Masterverse figures, the Masters of the Universe ones, which are really good fun. I've mentioned I'm collecting different versions of Donatello now, and then I've recently got into a little bit of diecast. Diecast cars. So probably got about a dozen diecast cars amassed now, and then a few of the DC Multiverse figures I've picked up just because they're characters I've enjoyed. So yeah, and as you've seen, Pokemon and that Joy Toy April O'Neil. So it's kind of becoming a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But with a few that are more than others.
Yeah. So you've got your main course, your main dish, but you're looking at the side orders at the minute now and sort of like perusing them. Right? No, good stuff. So I'm gonna do the questions now. We're gonna go back, back in time. We're gonna back in the day, and is there any like toys and games that come to mind that you played with as a kid? And any particular favourites that stand out?
Yeah, so my absolute standout toys from when I was a kid were Micro Machines.
Right.
If you visited my house when I was a kid, that was pretty much my toy box was Micro Machines.
Right.
And then I had a couple of other odd bits outside of that.
Yeah.
But that was what I sat down with regularly.
Yeah.
Got my toolbox playset out. I had the aircraft carrier playset as well, and obviously a lot of the little cars and planes and bikes and boats and everything. Little diecast. And would just sit down and play with those, from dawn till dusk, really. And that was absolutely the big one. Outside of that, I had a few monsters in my pocket. They were quite fun. Just little colourful, random monsters to mess around with, and they could get involved with my Micro Machines and have some monsters invading the city if I wanted. So everything centered around the Micro Machines, and anything else I got just sort of got involved in that. Transformers wise, my experience of Transformers as a kid, apart from the G1 run-em-up that I got secondhand that I've mentioned, was Micromasters.
Right.
So I sort of came to Transformers really by watching, I suppose, reruns of the cartoon.
Okay,
because it would have been a little bit later, and then it was when Micromasters were on the shelves. Really, was when I was getting interested in Transformers.
Yeah.
So I picked up a few Micromasters. From the local Woolies.
Yeah.
Well, my parents picked them up for me, of course. Yeah, and just added them to the pile with my micro machines. Slightly
So
larger scale, but I didn't care.
Yeah. So on like the micro machines, then did you? Because I know, again, not my thing, but then later on, did you then like diversify into like picking up like the Star Wars micro machines and the Star Trek ones, the ships and stuff, or was it just the cars?
No, it was very much kind of the I suppose real life inspired vehicles. So it was the cars, it was the aeroplanes, the motorbikes, they had boats as well.
Yeah.
But none of the more kind of fantasy sci-fi type stuff.
Yeah.
No.
So while you're playing with these, then, what stuff you watch? What cartoons are you watching? Comics and TV shows and stuff. What kind of things are you into at that point? And any favourites on that side of things?
Yeah. So in terms of TV, the obvious ones with your Transformers, your He-Man, Thundercats, Turtles. One of my absolute favourite cartoons as a kid was Bucky O'Hare.
Right.
And the adventures of this anthropomorphic rabbit and his friends in space, in another dimension, fighting toads and just a really fun action cartoon. And that was the one that I remember rushing home to watch Bucky O'Hare. For me, that was the big one. But I didn't have any of the Bucky O'Hare toys.
No,
I don't remember seeing any of the Bucky O'Hare toys as a kid, even.
No, I mean, to be honest, it's something I know nothing about. I've seen the images. I know who Bucky O'Hare is, but I don't know what it's about. I don't know any context to the cartoon or the story. And again, like you just said, I don't ever recall ever seeing any toys for it. I mean, I'm assuming there were, but yeah, it's something I'd known nothing about.
Yeah, so that was definitely the big one, cartoon wise. And then I used to like watching things like Run the Risk and Fun House. Those kids contest game shows.
Yeah.
Used to enjoy watching those. And Live and Kicking and Going Live with Trev and Simon swinging their pants and all that sort of stuff. All
I remember from that is swing your pants.
Yeah, and we don't do duvets. Is the other.
Don't do right.
And then comics wise, I grew up with Beano and Dandy.
Yeah.
They're obvious ones. Also watched things like Banana Man, Danger Mouse, Super Ted, those sorts of things when I was young.
Yeah.
The old, Thomas the Tank Engine, Postman Pat.
Right.
Thunderbirds. Just
all good stuff.
Loads and loads of stuff. And then probably a bit later on, I did start reading the American comics.
Right.
So some of the Marvel stuff and DC stuff. So Batman, Spider-Man. Really got into Nova and the New Warriors for a while, which I think are slightly more obscure characters again, but
I don't.
Yeah, I think I saw an issue 1 of Nova.
Right.
Probably in like its 3rd run or something, but an issue 1.
Is that a Marvel character? Is it Nova?
Yeah.
Right.
So they sort of represented the Nova Corps in the movies.
Oh, that's
in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That in the first Guardians film?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So Nova is a guy basically who gets his powers from them.
Right.
And becomes a superhero.
Yeah. Right. I'm just trying to think. Actually, that's just a bit of a. Does he have is it like a yellow helmet with red?
Yes.
Like lightning bolts or something. Right. Yeah. Right. I think I know what it is now. I've never read it, but I can see the image, and he got like discs on his overalls or whatever they are.
On his suit.
On his suit. Right. Good stuff. I was watching all those shows. I remember when Banana Man came out and loved that. And I remember when it got to end credits and I saw who did the voices, and I was like, oh, it's the goodies. You know, because it's like Tim Brooke Taylor and Bill Oddie and Graham Gardner, like, you know, that do the voices in it and that, you know. So, and then obviously, you know, so yeah, no, good stuff. So going back to the toys side of it then, is there any standout memories for you of like a toy that you got for like a birthday or a Christmas one, you know, that just really stands out, you know, then you're just thinking, oh, wow, I've got that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and nothing really springs to mind toy-wise.
No. Right, well, thanks a lot,
for-
Dave. Well, it's been nice chatting to you.
Yeah,
We'll call it a day.
thing, and it's not really a great toy memory or anything. Is when I was in my teens,
Yeah,
my auntie and uncle,
right,
for a present, had got me one of those toy garages that you get for little kids.
right.
Like, we probably didn't see this auntie and uncle very often, and they didn't really know how old I was or something.
Yeah, they've forgotten how old you are.
So
How
they'd
old
send
are
me
you
this
now?
toy garage that you'd get for a little kid, and a beige roll neck jumper,
Right.
which was not what I would have chosen to wear at that age at all.
No. I
Or
think
even now.
I could be on board for the roll neck jumper now. I mean, I think that'd be, you know, getting a bit of a serious 70s vibe from that, you know. But yeah, the garage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was it just a garage or did it have cars in it and things like that? Or
It was. I don't remember if it came with cars. It might have done, but it was just a generic plastic,
right,
really plasticky
Yeah.
toy garage.
right.
Just really odd. Yeah. So,
But
I mean,
did you
it's nice,
play
it's
with
nice
it?
to get a gift. I appreciate they made
Yeah.
some effort. But
Yeah.
just a really
But did you
random
take
thing.
it out of the box and play with it though? Did you
No.
have like a little drum with a car or something?
No. No, my parents said the look on my face was priceless.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
there's that.
I love this.
And then I suppose, now, I would consider this a toy
Right.
in terms of how I thought about it at the time,
Yeah.
but probably not so much now.
Okay.
Which is the Mega Drive.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think growing up, when we transitioned from toys to video games,
Yeah.
to me, that was the same mindset
Mhm.
as if I was getting a new toy.
Yes. Yeah.
And my parents had saved up, and they bought this Mega Drive
Mhm.
for me and my brother as a combined gift.
Yeah.
You know, because
Mhm.
it's a lot of money. And yeah, that was a really exciting thing to open this Mega Drive on Christmas Day
Right. Yeah.
and be able to sit down and play.
Yeah.
I think we probably got Sonic in the box with it.
Yeah. No, that's whenever anyone says Mega Drive, that's all I hear is they go Sega, and then it goes into the music for Sonic. Da, 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 da. I mean, that came out. I was at college when that came out, and a group of friends that I hung about with at that point. One of them, it was her younger sister that had the Mega Drive. So whenever we'd like pull round to their house, we'd just be like sat on, playing on that. And then another friend had, was it the Mega Drive or the Master System? No, it was the Mega Drive, and we played Mortal Kombat that came out on the Mega Drive, was it? I used to play on that. So a good system. So did you have many games for that then, or?
Over the years, we got through a lot. Yeah, we used to kind of play a game and then we'd go and trade some in at Hurters,
Right. What were your favourite game for that then?
Streets of Rage 2, absolutely.
Right.
And probably still my favourite game to today.
Yeah. Is that like a beat 'em up? Is it?
It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up.
All right, so it's a bit like Double Dragon and that lot, those kind of games.
Yeah,
right.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I've played that. I don't think I've played Streets of Rage. So I mean, I'm just trying to think what were I on at that point? What did I? Oh, I still had. I was on the Atari ST. So that would have been early 90s, wasn't it? I think early 90s. I was still on an Atari ST, and then when it came like midnight, 96, I think PlayStation came out. I then went on PlayStation with like 96 that came. So so I'm gonna I know you mentioned that because I think that happens for a lot of people that I've spoken to, that they seem to transition from toys into video game and that. But can you recollect? Do you have any memory or any about? Was there a particular last toy you remember getting? And then so like symbolizing that cut off between the two, or was it just a case of like say it just slowly faded into the gaming?
Yeah, I think because, like I said, I considered the Mega Drive just a new toy.
Yeah.
In my mind, I didn't really think of anything kind of being the end of an era and the start of something new.
Right.
I can't really think of what toy I had before I had the Mega Drive.
Right.
So I would probably think of the Mega Drive as my last
toy,
in a way. And then I moved on and I got the Sega Saturn. But I think by that point, in my mind, I'd probably separated video games and toys into two separate categories.
Yeah.
But when I had the Mega Drive, certainly when I first got it, I wasn't thinking that way.
No. It was just something else to play with that had, that got. Right. Okay, so could you see yourself ever stopping collecting?
Well, never say never, really.
Right, okay.
I think you get to our stage of life, you understand that sometimes your priorities change.
Yeah.
And sometimes in a big way. And as much as I'm enjoying collecting now, as much as I don't really see any reason why I would want to stop, I may get to a certain point. I may decide I'm ready to move on from all this and pursue a new hobby, or or just put it behind me. Who knows? But where my mind's at the moment, no. As long as I'm enjoying it, as long as I'm having fun with it, then it's a good thing to have a hobby, and to have some fun, and and something to kind of give you a bit of happiness and distract you from some of the more horrible things that go on in the world, I suppose. Completely.
No, I can't disagree with you on that one. I mean, I've been through phases, where I've thought, maybe it's time to stop. And I've come close a couple of times to stopping, but then there's something always catches your eye, and you just think, oh, go on then, I'll just have that one. I'll just get that one, and it always snowballs. And so, no, I'm the same. I don't think at this moment in time I can't see myself stopping. I would say I may be close to stopping, but I don't think I would ever stop. Because from my collection point of view, I'm done. I just pick up bits now to either upgrade or replace. But then, like I said, then there are these other things that you just see and you just think, yeah, I'm going to get that because I like that. It's a bit shiny. Enter magpie mode, and it's like, oh yeah, that's shiny. I want that. But I don't do it as much as what I used to do. I've come quite selective on that one. So right. So on the saying that with that collecting thing, then is that what would you say that that you like and dislike most about collecting?
So I like getting shiny new things, like you say.
Yeah.
And experiencing different things and having some fun. I'm at the point now, really, where my collection's reached a sort of a critical mass. So I am kind of moving older things on. In order to get new things. But I don't want to stop getting the new things. So it is necessary for me to move on the old things. I'd like the experience of getting something new, getting it out of the package, messing around with it. Maybe taking some photos, maybe making a video about it if I can be bothered.
Right.
That sort of thing. And talking about it on Toy Me, Toy You with Lee and whoever else comes on, and and sending messages to my friends about things and all of that kind of thing. And that's another thing I like is that there is that community surrounding it of kind of like-minded people who also enjoy the same sorts of things that you enjoy, and being able to see what other people have picked up. I'm not going to buy everything myself, so being able to kind of live vicariously through another person's experience of a toy that I'm not going to get myself is it's always quite fun as well. Going to conventions and meeting up with people and hanging out is good fun. You know, doing the YouTubes is good fun. And
And how about dislike?
It's just having a hobby, really. It's just having some fun with it is what I like about it. In terms of dislikes, not a lot really.
No.
It's maybe not a dislike, but one comment is that I find that sometimes people do take things a bit too seriously when it comes to toy collecting. And my mindset is that if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point? Because it's supposed to be a hobby, and it doesn't matter if it's toy collecting or video games, or if you're into sports or crochet or whatever. If you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? Because it's supposed to be an escape from the other side of life, which is your work and whatever challenges you might be facing there. Your hobby's supposed to be something to bring you away from that and to help you relax and decompress and have fun. And if it's not doing that for you, you're probably doing something wrong.
I'd agree on that. I mean, one thing that I dislike is like I say is some elements of the community that try to control, so like I'm talking maybe on the social media side, where it's like, well, if you want to be a member of this group or this particular area, then these are our rules, and it's like, well, no, you can't really tell people how to collect or what to collect or what to do with their collection. It's up to them, kind of thing, but no, other than that, I think it is generally a wholly positive experience, because like I say, I mean, the collecting community, there's a great bunch of people out there that make it fun, and as long as you remember that it is just a hobby, like you say, and it is a bit of an escapism and things like that, what's not to like about it? Like I say, grown-up adult real life is, it's tough enough as it is, without bringing some of that into, like, it's like, God damn, why is that figure only got 10 points of articulation, and things like, it's like, whoa, go on, calm down, kind of thing. So no, completely agree on that. So the wider collecting thing, then, staying on that, is there any particular advice that you would give to someone who's just starting out now? I mean, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter what it is they're collecting, but, any particular advice you'd give to them, through things that you've learned?
I would just say, take your time. Don't rush. Don't feel like you have to amass a large collection in a short amount of time. That's not what you need to do. And I think when new people do start collecting, that temptation is always there to go get. But actually, if you pace yourself, obviously financially it's a good idea to budget and be careful. But also it gives you a bit of space to try and take some time with each individual item and get a bit more enjoyment out of that before you move on to the next thing. I mean, if you can afford to and you want to buy loads and loads and pile it up, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't. It's your life, it's your money. But but I would suggest, from my perspective, I think taking your time with it and trying to enjoy each individual item on its own merits is probably a good thing to do. No, sound of idea. I can't really add up to that. That's pretty much, I think, what I think and feel on that. So we're at that point now where I'd slipped this in because this wasn't a question on, when I was doing it previously. This is a new one that I've put in, and it's is there a question that you'd like to ask me? Okay, there is. I've racked my brains and I came up with one. So it is. So I've mentioned my micro machines and how much I love those. Loved those as a kid. Great kids' toy. Would not collect them as an adult collector.
Right.
because I don't consider them to be a great display piece. I don't consider them to have, much about them that would benefit me as an adult collector. The play sets are quite plasticky. They would look great on display or for photography purposes or anything like that.
Yeah.
The cars themselves were always really good quality die-cast minis, but very small. So again, they wouldn't have much shelf presence. So that for me is an example of a toy line that I loved when I was a kid, but have zero interest in collecting as an adult. So my question is there something that you had as a kid that you really, really loved?
Yeah.
But wouldn't be something you'd be interested in having anything of now at all?
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I had to think about this because, but shatter the illusion. You did send me this question prior, so I could mull it over. But, we'll pretend you didn't. We'll pretend I'm really shocked and surprised.
Get away now, Eddie.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think people know. I mean,
that's a reasonable thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. I send these questions out to people I speak to beforehand, so they can prep and things like that. So, but in my defence, I was a bit tardy with it because I only actually picked it up probably about half an hour or so before we started anyway, so I've had to kind of like wrap my brains. But there was a lot of toys that were about when I was a kid, and there were different ranges and lines and things like that, and I didn't have them all, but there was one or two that did come in, and whether they were the gifts or things like that. But the one that I kept repeating and kept coming back to, and given my love for this as well, may be surprising, but the one that I plumped for was Star Wars toys. Star Wars. That was it, because it was, and it's not because I think anything negatively or bad about quality or things like that. It's purely because there's just so much. There's so much of it, and I am quite particular. I'm very particular in what I get and the condition it's in. So if I was to go down the route of wanting to collect vintage Star Wars, it would have to be I would have to have 2 of all the figures. So I would have to have one sealed on the card, and I'd have to have one loose, so I could, just mess about with it. The cards would have to be impeccable, yeah. And then I'd have to have like the protective cases for them. Then it would be a case of I'd have to have the vehicles. The vehicles would have to be boxed and sealed. They'd have to be cases. So it would just the reason why I wouldn't do it is because it's just cost prohibitive for me. And that's it. And space as well. And space. I mean, I could all the Transformers and stuff that I have now, I could sell all that and still not have enough money to collect what I'd want to collect Star Wars wise. Because I think the prices are just so much more for Star Wars than what they are for Transformers stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer. That would be it. It would be Star Wars. That I just wouldn't. I do have. Fortunately, I did. When Hasbro did the retro collection, I was able to get the first 12. So the main characters, if you will, from the original Star Wars film, and that scratched that itch. So I'm happy with those. I've got those, and I've no interest of going beyond that or going further than that. And I do have a selection of Black Series figures, but it's nothing that it's nothing that I would go all in on. It's just kind of like dipping my toe in the water of that. I've got what I want, and I'm happy to leave it. But no, yeah, as far as a toy from childhood that I wouldn't collect now as an adult, it's vintage Star Wars.
Fair enough. Good answer.
There you go. Right then, so that's it. We're at the end, Dave. We've done. We've persevered and endured, and so all that's left now is to thank you. I appreciate you coming on and talking with me. And if you'd just like to again tell people who you are and where they can find you.
Well, thank you for having me on, Ed. It's been fun. So you can find me as ToySlice on Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And also, you can find me every other Sunday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube on Toy Me, Toy You with Lee.
Fantastic. Right. Well, again, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time. It's been a good chat, and I'm sure we'll catch up again real soon. But for now, again, thanks, and
All right.
see you later.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Cheers. Goodbye.
Cheers, mate.
Interface access disengaged. Thank you for accessing the collector's archive. To enable return access, please select the like, subscribe, and notification icons. Initiating shutdown sequence now. The vaults of Icon.